All right, what is up, everybody? We are live. This is Kyle with WMMA Fighters, and I have Andrea Howland. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good to talk again.
Yes, absolutely. Always.
Yeah. So let me see here. First off, you got some fight news.
Yes, absolutely. Fighting on April 27th for New England Fights. It is for their amateur bantamweight championship. So that is extremely exciting, and it'll be my first title fight. So that's always awesome. And yeah, I'm super pumped for it, definitely. And it's against Taylor Thompson.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's a good matchup.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's a great matchup for women's MMA and amateur, women's MMA. So I think it'll be a fan favorite for sure.
oh yeah, no doubt, and that's awesome. Congrats on the title fight.
Oh yeah, thank you. I know
Yeah.
it's a blessing to be able to have that opportunity like so early on in my career. So
hmm
I'm definitely not taking it lightly. I'm gonna make the most of it for sure. And I know Taylor intends to bring it as well. So it should be a good show. So
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. You won't take that lightly at all.
yeah.
How has your prep been? I mean, there's been a lot of some frustration, right? I mean, you've had a couple fights kind of come and go, totally
Yeah.
out of your control. But how's the preparation been? You feeling good? Everything coming together?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The training camp itself has been awesome. No injuries, no issues, knock on wood. And hopefully, Taylor's in the same boat. We'll be able to make it to fight night without a hiccup. But yeah, I mean, leading up to this camp, yeah, it was a little frustrating. It felt like I was like starting a camp, stopping a camp, starting a camp, stopping a camp. But, I was, pretty informed from my teammates that that's just like the way it goes sometimes.
hmm
It's just a fight game. You just got to stay ready all the time. So that was a learning experience. And as a fighter, you really can't be upset if your camps fall through entirely because you're still advancing as a martial artist. You're still being developed. So sometimes fight camp mode or that mentality is almost what drives you to be better. So I will say I'm grateful for that, that during the times that, I thought I was going to have a fight, I was still in that grind mentality. I was still pushing myself, still kept my weight on track, things like that. So I will say that I'm grateful that it helped me evolve. And I think because it'll be almost 9 months since my last fight, and I never wanted to wait that long since I started fighting. So, but I've definitely evolved, and I'm definitely ready to showcase how I've changed as a fighter. So I'm excited for that opportunity because, you can do a lot in the gym as far as sparring and doing live work, but the real test is when you get in that cage and the door locks. So I'm excited for the opportunity and the platform to see how the Renegade has changed from one fight to the next. So I'm super pumped.
Oh, that's awesome, and that's very well said. And it has been a long time, but the whole time. I mean, what's been great is we've stayed in touch, and obviously love to come on here and talk about a fight. And it's like, oh, this happened. It is what it is. It is like the epitome of a grind. What you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've heard it time and time again from different teammates, fighters, people in, the combat sports industry that really the training camp itself is the hard part,
Right.
going through all of that, the dieting and, you're constantly monitoring your weight and, you're doing cardio, you're doing all sorts of stuff, you're fighting through injuries, you're fighting through emotional stuff, family stuff, personal stuff. You don't really have a choice. You got to keep training. And then the fight is like the fun part. So, yeah, I mean, I appreciate you staying patient with me because we've been trying to line this up, and I'm like, hey, I got a fight, I don't have a fight, I got a fight, I don't have a fight. So, I appreciate you and really anybody who provides like that media platform because,
hmm
you guys give us a chance to not only voice where our heads at, but we get to share a part of this experience that people don't really get to see every day. And if they don't do combat sports, or they don't do martial arts, or they don't compete in sports at all, they might not understand that insight or they might be intrigued by it either way. So it's nice to share this side of the coin because, later in my career, I plan on reflecting back on all this and looking at the growth and looking at the journey and things like that. And, even showing my kids one day and being like, oh, mommy grind, mommy grinded like this for you guys. And, because they love it right now. They think it's cool that, I'm a fighter, and, they'll say, where are you going? And I'm going to the gym, and they'll say, cause you're going to win your fight. And I'm like, yep, baby, mama's going to win, so we discuss it as a family. So, it's a team sport, if you will, in our household. So I appreciate my kids for being so supportive. They're just such like little innocent, sweet little kids, but they get that I'm a competitor. So, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting process being a fighter in itself. And you do have those ups and downs. You do have those twists and turns. So I think it's interesting to see how a fighter responds to them, if they can stay motivated, if they can not get frustrated. So I'm glad I'm facing some adversity early on before the stakes are, because I think the stakes are only going to get higher from here. So it's a good practice, to do it now for sure. So.
Well, I mean, you handled it perfectly, to be honest. I mean, I'm not a patient person. I would not have been able to deal with that. I would have lost it. So, but I think that's got to be probably the hardest part of this whole thing is the waiting game.
Yeah. Well, and also too with me pursuing a lot of sponsorships, and I try to do little projects here and there to make this whole process lucrative, and I try to network with different businesses. That was probably the hardest part for me. Is it's scary to get the process started and say to a sponsor, okay, we have a date, because usually most of my sponsorship relations, I'll set them up camp to camp. So if you have a camp and you start that relationship with them, and then the fight falls through, I just didn't want to keep going back to sponsors and saying, oh, we got one, oh, we lost it, oh, we got one, oh, we lost it, and even as a fighter, even if you have sponsors or you have some type of financial support, whether it's your family or whether it's just you, fueling your own journey, every time you go in the gym and you have privates or, your diet or your equipment, those things cost money. So you're kind of like burning the candle at both ends, and then if you don't get the result, which is the fight itself, I think for a lot of fighters, that in itself gets, difficult and frustrating, because they're like, look, I've been, killing myself in the gym for this many X amount of months, and then they're still not getting the fight. So I think that's why some of them grow frustrated too. So that part of it, I kept telling myself, as long as I'm still letting people know I'm working hard and letting them know who I am and building my character, if you will, I'm still benefiting myself as a fighter. I'm still benefiting my sponsors, things like that. And luckily, most of them have been very understanding and very supportive, even though we've had the ups and downs. But yeah, to definitely, kind of get a fight locked in on the board, that was like the biggest relief, to be able to go to them, or even people like you that I'm like, I know you've been waiting, we got one. And I appreciate Taylor too, because as her being like a legitimate opponent where, knock on wood, unless something weird happens or we have an unfortunate circumstance, I know she's going to show up. I know I don't have to question her backing out or, kind of being on BS. And so that was just like such a relief to be able to sink my teeth into the matchup and be like, I don't got to worry about this one. She's ready to go. So that I respect her for that. And I don't think I'll really take matchups in the future unless I know, they're into this, they're committed, they're professional. I don't think I'll do it ever again that way, just because I pour too much into it, and I'm not going to pull the load of promoting the fight and building it up. I'm not going to be the only one that does that. I'm going to want someone who has that mutual respect, and they're going to carry their weight in this, moving forward. So it's kind of a nice start to move forward with someone like her and just never look back and only take fights against people like that, which that'll probably mean they're going to be more competitive, but hey, I didn't get into this to fight scrubs. I got into this to fight the best in the world. That was my goal. I wanted to compete with the best girls in the world at my weight class. So Taylor's a good step in the right direction for sure. So
yeah, I love that too. And I hate to say this, but like lessons learned.
Yeah, it is. It's like experience. It's like bumping your head, and they say that's what your amateur career is for, but
Hmm.
I like efficiency. I like to not make the same mistake twice. Like you said, lessons learned. So that's something that I plan to do moving forward is just not make those same mistakes twice and, be the most efficient with my time. So no matter who's invested in this or who's supporting this, whether it be sponsors, friends, family, I'm doing this for them too, and I don't want to waste their time and their support and their efforts either. So this is, how they say, like, it takes a village to raise a child. It's like it takes a village to support a fighter. So, I'm trying to, have my village's back over here, So, yeah, I think we're all on the same page now, and we got a good thing moving forward for sure.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. Now this, like you said, it's a whole different level of matchup too, and anybody who knows anything about the sport is not going to accuse you of fighting scrubs. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. You're at a point now where your amateur career will be behind you sooner rather than later. So now's the point. If you can step it up here as far as opponent goes, why not, right?
Yeah, yeah. I had a conversation with one of my cornermen before we were leaving the gym tonight. My coach, that's what I was telling you, I had a little bit of a delay
Hmm.
tonight. And one of our teammates was like, "So you're going pro this year?" And I was like, "Okay, let's bump the brakes," and I just kind of shared with him my thoughts on that. It's like fighting someone like Taylor Thompson. Like I said, it's a step in the right direction. It's a
Yep.
legitimate opponent. It's the first time I'll be fighting someone who's, essentially girl than me, which is nice because it's understanding that as you get into those pro matchups, you're going to fight to recognize that you're not always going to be the biggest person. And although I'm a legitimate bantamweight in the
Hmm.
sense, or I'm cut, I know Taylor does too. It's a nice challenge for me to kind of cross that line. And like I said, the sharks only get bigger from here. The
Yes.
fish only get bigger from here. And so it's a big test for me to see where I'm at. And that's the direction I want to go. And I've said with the layoff that I had and the time it took to get a matchup, I had said to my coaches time and time again, I'm just gonna have to prepare to fight a monster. I'm just gonna have to prepare to fight, an experienced girl who's either on the brink of turning pro or is already kind of at that level and she just hasn't made the switch yet.
Hmm.
But that's what we've always been preparing for. Since I started competing, I knew where I want to take this thing. And I think, a lot of people have kind of asked, when are you gonna, cross that line? I do know that for the remainder of 2019, regardless of how many fights I can knock out before the end of the year, I know that I want to continue to train and look for matchups as an amateur just to give myself that time on the mats at my gym. So if I can get, 3 to 4 fights in this year, that would be ideal, and then I'd be looking at, 5 to 6 fights under my belt going into 2020, and then we just see where we're at. Obviously, if those fights play in my favor, which I plan on, I always plan to win, then it opens up opportunities, and the girls I've talked about this before, the girls have a different trajectory than the guys. They don't have to have as many amateur fights typically before
Right.
they start to get higher profile offers. And, debuting as a pro with like an Invicta or an LFA or a Titan FC, that's definitely the goal, to get into that market and to make enough noise that those promotions are like, hey, we want this girl, we want to be the one that brings her into the pro
Hmm.
ranks. But definitely not looking past Taylor, not looking past this opportunity or, really anybody who's in my division that's in my regional area. I want to know that I can bang with the best, that's around me as far as geographically. And then, if I stand up to those tests and I'm successful, then yeah, I think that the road only leads one direction from there. And that's the goal, is to find success for the remainder of this year, see where we're at, and kind of go from there. And I don't want to go pro prematurely by any means, but if I'm finding success in these fights, it is going to limit the amount of girls that will face me as an amateur, and I understand that that's the potential challenge that we're looking at. So, we'll see what happens, but like I said, just to give myself the time to train as an amateur for 2019, I think
Yeah.
is advisable. I don't think there's any reason to rush it, going into the remainder of this year by any means. I'd like to get as much amateur cage time as I can, because once you cross that line, you can't go back. So
Right.
we'll see.
No, you've always had this like the perfect attitude towards it, I think.
Thank you.
You definitely understand it. And, a lot of times it's just it's the marketing machine that gets a lot of fighters to turn pro. And sadly, I think that a lot of fighters, especially the women fighters, turn pro too soon because they're pressured, and it could even be they're pressured from those they trust most, their coaches,
Yeah.
trainers, and
Yeah.
it's disappointing. So it's awesome that you've always talked about your support system, which I think is incredible, and you have a great team too. I mean, these people seem like they really get it, and I
Yeah.
think that's huge. If there was a perfect approach, which I don't, there isn't, but because everybody's career is different, right? But I think taking it this way it's good, and I think this fight with Taylor will be great, and I'm hoping, and I truly feel that is actually going to give you a couple more in that level, I think, to finish your amateur career. I really do feel that way.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm hoping too, because I've said that one of the issues I think, some of the promotions that are local to me, right? I should say local, they're in my state.
Mm-hmm.
Local to me that are kind of the higher recognized promotions, they seem to have an issue matching me, whether that be just because of the lack of availability of girls or because the girls that we do have are disinterested in the matchups, they don't really want to take the fight. I'm hoping that what this fight with Taylor does, going out there, which Taylor's in a sense kind of the hometown girl. She's definitely more of the hometown girl than I would be. She's definitely more local to that regional area. But, going, us having an excellent performance, going to get that W, bringing that belt back home. What I'm hoping is that noise that I make from that matchup will attract some of the big dogs to come to me. And that's what I want. I want the promotions to say, okay, she's built up enough hype that now if we got to put in a little extra elbow grease to get someone to her, or if we got to kind of invest in her as a fighter, that's kind of, I've told them all that. You can you can literally contact pretty much every promoter in the state, that I've been working with, and I've told them all the same thing. I said I'm going to bark loud enough that someone answers the call,
Oh, yeah.
So that's the goal with Taylor, is to, have that excellent performance, and then say, if you got to bring someone here that's a little bit tougher for me, I don't mind, but I want that hometown fight. I want that hometown presence, so it builds up my name with, my regional area. It gets my fan base to grow with the people that are closest to me, and my family and my friends are like, when are you going to fight close to home again? You always try to fight far away, and so, they kind of tell me that a lot, and it's like, if I have to earn that right, I don't have a problem doing it, but once I have those cards to play, I'm definitely going to play them, and
Yeah.
I've had a couple promoters that have tried to do what NEF has done, like put a title on the line, kind of make it a little bit more high stakes, but they still were having an issue finding the girl. So I appreciate them for that, but it's like, like I said, we kind of have to like sound the alarm so that the girls that are, in the Midwest or, close enough to say, okay, this girl's got some hype, come try and steal it. That's basically what I'm trying to do. So I'm hoping that this fight with her will open up more opportunities, and then we'll just continue to ride the momentum and see, who we can bring to the state of Michigan. Because, Michigan MMA is I feel on a bit of a rise in a sense. We've got more promotions that are working with some of these, like, UFC Fight Pass, like streaming platforms. So not just for the women or not just for the amateurs, I think that Michigan MMA, rather than us facing each other, fighting everybody who's local to us, it needs to be kind of like an us versus them type thing.
Yep.
And kind of bring in some of that out-of-town talent, and then that way it kind of sets a better storyline for the fans, for the fighters, whatever. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to capitalize on something like that after this fight, but we'll see what they can come up with. But you better believe, if I go get that strap, I'm gonna be a little pushy with the promoters here and say, okay, it's my turn. Bring a girl to me, let me have the hometown fight and sell all the tickets and all that stuff. And I think they know it's coming. I think they know they're waiting for me to, kind of come back to them and be like, all right, the ball's in your court. And so I think they're all kind of prepared for that too. And I'm sure they'll be watching this fight and seeing how I do for sure. So.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, this will be huge, and I think too. I think win or lose, I think it's all about the performance.
Oh yeah, yeah,
it's all
yeah.
about the performance and just doing what you do, and you're going to be fine. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you get to a point where you're allowed to say to yourself, "Hey, I've earned this." I've
Yeah.
earned. I mean, it comes to a point because if you can truly say that and be honest with yourself, then yeah, you've 100% earned it.
Yeah, you got the bar. Yeah, and that's the thing is like I understand I haven't had that many fights, and
Mhm.
I've kind of made a lot of noise in my first year in the sport, which that's kind of cool about this fight with Taylor is that my MMA debut was April 28th, 2018. This fight with Taylor is April 27th, 2019. So
That's
it'll
awesome.
literally be within a calendar year, of my debut. So it'll be a nice little icing on the cake to, secure that belt. And, with everything I've been able to do and, having the fights, having the media exposure, the sponsorships, made a calendar with the girls. I got a magazine that I'm a part of with one of my sponsors is putting together. So there's been a lot of opportunities I've been able to capitalize on in the first year. And so, I really want this victory more than the others too, because like you said, it'll be kind of my way of being like, okay, pressure makes diamonds. I stepped up to the challenge. I
Right.
fulfilled what I said I was going to do, kept my word, things like that. And, after you win, you have that little lingering, kind of like, okay, I did this, I did what I said I was going to do, but then the clock starts back over and you got to kind of put up or shut up again. So
Mhm.
we're kind of at the brink of it's been enough time that it's time for me to get another victory under my belt so I can kind of back up everything I'm saying, everything I'm doing,
Yeah.
kind of fulfill it to my sponsors, to my team, things like that. Because they put a lot of work and time into me, Michigan Top Team. I appreciate them and everything they've done because since my career started, it's like I'm kind of like their new little baby fighter. So I think they're kind of waiting for me to like spread my wings here. So I think this is an opportunity for me to do that and show them that their hard work they're putting into me is going to pay off and kind of bring that belt back home to them and make them proud, like, proud papa type moment for them. So yeah, definitely it's time to make good on my promises.
Yeah.
So
Oh, they'll be proud, definitely, definitely.
yeah.
And you will. There's no doubt. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be great. And again, I think the path you're going down is a great way to go. Um, but yeah, so 9 months till now. So it really sounds like you're in a great place mentally and physically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious the prep and the training and everything has gone well. And so what after all this nonsense, was it just keep doing business as usual? And then you get this and you're kind of like, all right, we got to camp again. I mean, was there any like here we go again moment, or was it just, hey, we got another one, let's go, let's get back into camp?
Yeah, I mean, with the other matchups that I kind of thought I had lined up, there was some, like one of them, it was gonna be kind of like a catch weight type thing, and the opponent, very game opponent, respect her camp, but she kind of decided she wanted to go down to flyweight and like stay in her division, which I was like, I respect it.
Right.
You shouldn't have to do, super fight status. We're both kind of early on in our career, so
Hmm.
that was kind of one of those like, you can't really do anything about it. But finding out this matchup, like I said, knowing or having exposure to Taylor a little bit, because oddly enough, when we did when I won the Amateur of the Year award,
Yep.
with Queen Media MMA, me and her were down to the final two, nominees, if you will. So as soon as that happened, I obviously did my research and I was like, okay, what's up with this girl? So I knew of her and I knew that this matchup was coming. I knew that somebody was going to suggest this because our records were very similar. We both, we both do the same thing. We both promote ourselves. We both train like professionals, so this was inevitably going to happen. So when they kind of threw out her name, I was like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. Like, we're ready to go. So it was almost like it was like a relief in a sense to be like, okay, like, yes, like fight camp mode for sure. I don't have to kind of convince myself I have a camp because it was like that for a while. It was like because the matchups were kind of uncertain.
Yeah.
Even the promotions were like, okay, we got to fight, but then it was like kind of wishy-washy dealing with them. I noticed like our Tale of the Tape poster wasn't coming out real quick, and then I was like, okay, I'm getting a little leery, like what's going on here? But with NEF, they've done such a good job that they jumped on the promotion aspect right away. They didn't hesitate. They've been very good about throwing me and Taylor's matchup out there, doing what they can to promote the fight. So that in itself provided security, and then like I said, Taylor's just game. So when I knew that this was happening, I was like, oh, let's go. It's like almost like an exciting thing because you're not running into as much of an issue. So yeah, I was like excited more than anything, and it was like, okay, now I understand sometimes the universe doesn't really play out things the way you want, but as soon as this came together, I was like, okay, this is why I went through all those obstacles. This is why none of those fights happened, because this is what needed to happen. This is the best case scenario for me right now. It's the most legitimate matchup I've had since Addie, in August, and I just kind of embraced it and was like, okay, let's go. This is what we've been building towards. So it was a very happy feeling and excited and grateful, really just grateful overall, because after those couple stints of stuff falling through, and there was some things too where I did have a matchup. I had a matchmaker I was working with, and it was a female matchmaker, love her. She was doing a great job of putting everything together, and then I had some family stuff come up that prevented me from pursuing the matchup she had. Granted, we did have a delay with the girl she was going to have me fight, but either way, she was busting her ass. Actually, a couple of them were totally busting their ass to get me a matchup. So it wasn't just the other opponents or people falling through. Some of it was just stuff going on with me. So when this all, like, the timing was right and the opponent was right, and I knew with my family I could accommodate the challenges, it was just like, all right, green lights, go, let's do this. So yeah, just grateful that it came together the way it did, and excited for the end result for everyone involved. Really, I think it's going to be beneficial. Like you said, win or lose for me or her, I don't think anyone's getting an early night out of this. I don't think either one of us is going to make this an early night. So we're going to get our money's worth. Let's just put it that way, either way it goes. So that's exciting in itself, too, for everyone. So we'll definitely make it worth the hype. I know that for sure. Yeah.
Always do.
Yeah,
Always do,
exactly.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is very exciting. Like I said earlier, it's a really awesome matchup. I mean, I remember you coming down to Amateur of the Year, and what I love is the amateur fighters right now in WMMA is, I mean, there's some legit, you know what I mean, fighters right now.
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
one of them, and what's great about them is they represent all weight classes. I mean, it's not just a few bangers here and there. It's not just your typical, straw weight or bantam weight. I mean, there are some serious fighters. So I think the next couple years, 2020, 2021, in that, which still sounds weird to say,
Yeah,
2020. I mean,
2020.
I
Yeah.
can't believe where we're at.
That's gonna be a fun year. Just
Yeah,
saying 2020 all the time.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Exactly.
crazy because, um, there's a lot of fighters that aren't going to be around much longer in the fight game.
Yeah.
So it's really cool because it's in really good hands. And I've said it before, this wave of fighter, again, you are one of them, and there's several others that you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just, because you don't have to anymore. All the
Right. Right.
pioneers in the sport and who've made it legitimate. but you're enhancing it and you're making it better. It's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the quality is better. I mean, there's some amateur fights that just blow my mind,
Oh
with the
yeah.
skill and what is put on display. And it's exciting as a fan, and all fans should be excited, to be honest. But yeah,
Yeah.
in Michigan, uh, is exploding with MMA right now, and what's cool about it is it's just like everything else in this country, right? It all starts on the coasts, and then at some point it works
Yeah.
its way in.
Yeah.
I mean, how
Yeah.
long was like MMA exclusive to the coasts? East or
Yeah.
West Coast.
Yeah.
It was like if you
Yeah, you got
didn't,
those hotbeds. Yeah, in
yeah,
California and Florida. Yeah. Yeah,
like
I'm
if you
with you.
didn't
Yeah.
live near a beach, you were not an MMA fighter because you couldn't be. Yeah, but
Right.
it's come in. Michigan's hot. Where I'm at, I'm your neighbor, and I'm in Ohio. We got a pretty legit scene here too. It's really cool
Yeah.
to watch. But just even farther south, but staying in the middle of the states right now is just exploding, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and women's MMA too, with that first wave of females that came through and kind of like brought the sport to the UFC and everything like that. Like it in itself, the expansion of the weight classes, because like you said, with females, it's kind of like in a sense we're all kind of like grouped together right now.
Hmm.
I was just talking to a teammate about this too, how even in Michigan, if you look at like the rankings, there's still not that many of us, like where they just rank us all, whether you're pro, amateur, bantamweight,
Right.
there's no, like we're all grouped together in one group. And so you can see, how much different it is versus the guys who have like these whole completed divisions.
Hmm.
There's like 15 people to choose from if you want to fight. But like with females, it's like we're so far and few between. But like you said, there's this growth and there's expansion and there's new fighters like popping up all the time for females in every weight class. And like you said, there's some amateurs compared to even like 5 years ago. If you look at some of the amateur female fights in Michigan, compared to what they are now, there's definitely a progression of the sport, definitely a rise in the competition level. The expectations are higher, and I think what I'm trying to do is capitalize on the entertainment business aspect of it,
Hmm.
coupled with hard work, athleticism, things like that. So you're starting to see some of these girls that are starting to get it. They're starting to understand. And even guys, you can promote yourself well, and you're not going to get where you want to be if you're not a good fighter, but you
Right.
can be a good fighter and you're not going to get where you want to be if you can't promote yourself. It's got to be a combination of the two. You have to do both. And as much as a lot of really good fighters just want to fight, they don't want to do the other side of it. I've said this time and time again. You can compete. You can compete. No one's going to stop you, but you're never going to get to the big show if nobody knows your name. And
Right.
and sometimes your fighting is just simply not enough to set you apart from the pack. You have to let people know who you are. You can't be scared to show your personality. Like, kind of give fans a way to distinguish you from the next person. Besides the way you look, besides the way you fight, there has to be more content to fill the void. And I think that more female fighters are understanding that. And even if they're not quite at that point, like you said, there's just a wave of more female fighters. Like when I debuted, last year, it was like there was like a whole crop of girls that debuted in Michigan around that time. And then even there was like, I don't know, it was like 8 or 10 that debuted in like the Chicago area, just in my weight class alone.
Hmm.
There was like a wave of girls. And so, as much as it's hard to find some of these competitors, it's really just about networking and some of these promoters being aware of their presence. And if some of these girls took the initiative to do more of the marketing and promoting, we would have more frequent matchups. It's that these guys, or even girls, whoever's doing the matchmaking and promoting, I think fighters don't understand. They have such a large pot or pool of fighters to go from when they're trying to match a card that you're competing with everybody on that card to be relevant enough for that matchmaker to have your attention and time.
Right.
So these females, they do need to do a better job of making themselves known, because you could have somebody quite literally in your backyard that the matchmaker doesn't know that they're there. They don't even know that they're an option for their fighter. And then they might hesitate to do a little bit of the groundwork just because they have 1,000 other things to do. So I think if more fighters make a point, especially the females, if they make a point to like let people know they're ready to compete, they want to compete, they're excited about it, they're willing to promote themselves, they're willing to promote the show themselves, that's what's going to get these matchmakers attention, and it's going to allow them to kind of connect the dots and bring some of these female fighters together. Because it's like I'll do research on my own about who I could fight or who might be available, and it's like that's me looking at my own career, and I look at my career like a baby, like that's my baby, so I'm going to give it its time and attention. But that doesn't mean that the rest of the promoters and matchmakers out here have that same time to give. And so I get why they get discouraged when they're trying to find a matchup for some of these girls, because it is difficult because they just don't know who's available, and I think some gyms in the area or even in the regional area, they do a pretty decent job of promoting their females. But I just think that if more of us kind of get loud about who's available, who's willing to fight, who, like I said, who's willing to promote their brand and be confident in what they bring to the table, you'll start seeing more and more females getting on these cards. Other than a few very dedicated matchmakers, which two of them off the top of my head right now I know are females. Mm-hmm. Some of these guy promoters, they try, they try to put the girls out there, like Big John up north. He does a great job with all the girls and things like that. But I think that there can be just a level of awareness on everyone's part, and it'll start to bring things together even more. So hopefully, like you said, this wave will continue, mm-hmm. and then we'll all kind of work together as a unit and kind of keep this ship rolling here, keep this train rolling here.
Oh yeah, it's going to continue, definitely. It's picked up steam big time. And what's great is it is more obvious now, which is a good thing. And I think there are some fighters that probably didn't even realize, the impact they were making, and as they've gone through, it's like, okay, it's blowing up now, at all levels. I know several from amateur to pro, different weight classes, and quite a few that I've talked to. And at first they're like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. And then now they're like, okay, yeah, I'm a big part of this, and it's really cool to see. And it's really cool to see the momentum is, what is it? It's March. Yeah. So it's just now March, and the last half of 2018, things were blowing up. I think there's been more momentum built in the first 3 months of 2019 than there was in all of 2018.
Yeah. And I ran into some female fighters that I had started watching before I was ready to compete. And I remember talking to some of them and being like, I watched all your fights, and, I've been really interested in your journey. And they're like, I didn't even know I was known like that. Like, they'll say things like that. And I'm like, which that's humble, and I can respect them for that. But it's kind of like you want to start to get in the mentality that somebody is watching your story. Somebody is following what you're doing. And I think, like I said, it's great for these fighters to be humble and, kind of have that attitude. But at the same time, they almost need a sense of awareness that, there's definitely people following your story. There's people that want to know what happens at the end of the story. So I think that more people need to kind of like let the shyness go and kind of like, let it be known that they're here, they're ready to fight, and they're proud and confident in their brand. Like, I think more fighters need to embrace their brand, and that helps them, that helps the promotion, that helps their opponents, that helps their team, that helps their sponsors. Like, there's just a multiple areas in which it can benefit everybody overall. It's like, any business really, but, a lot of fighters not really understanding the business aspect, it makes it hard for them when they're trying to make this thing work. But I get that a lot of them are very shy too. And, like, I'm a talker, and, obviously, that, but, prior to fighting, I'm sorry, I got a call coming in. Prior to fighting, I was never big on like social media or like pictures or like representing myself or anything like that. And so I'm sure people wouldn't understand that now. They're like, oh, okay, like you do it all the time. But I just understood that it's a necessity. You have to do it if you want to fight. You're a public figure. You got to get over it. So, and that's kind of one of the things, like, I hope to be an example, and I think some of my teammates are like, people I've trained with, like, it kind of annoys them at first. And then when they understand that, like I do it for them too. Like I promote their fights, I promote them.
That's
I'll
awesome.
make posts about them. Yeah, and then they're like, okay, I kind of understand it now. So it's like, I'm doing this for everybody. I'll use the voice that I've built or the platform that I've built to get my other teammates' names out there. And I've said that too. Like some of these gyms, you need to embrace your girl fighters. Some of these guys, like get with your girl fighters. Work with them, train with them, promote yourselves together. Some of these girls are going to make it to levels that the guys are going to strive for. And then I think the guys get a little chip on their shoulder because they're like, I've had to have 3 times as many fights to get that offer. And it's like, yes, I understand that, but embrace your girl fighters, embrace them as your own, and they're going to help you get that exposure that you're looking for, and I think I think some guys are starting to get that, but I think if more guys understand that, it'll do them wonders in their career. It'll help them out a lot. So hopefully they'll pick up on that soon, and they'll get where they need to be as far as that goes. So we'll see.
Yeah, once the the Conor McGregors of the fight game finally go away, things will be a lot better again.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of fighters say that too. They're like, it's about trash talk. It's not even about what you do.
It's gotten so stupid.
I think that I think he's opened up people's eyes to what promoting yourself can do and what developing it like a character. It's almost like the WWE thing. If you develop a character or a gimmick and people follow it and they build your fan base, that can have a lot of benefits. But I think his behavior over the last year or so has been like he kind of took it over the top in a lot of ways. But I will say, the dude built an empire off of this thing, and I think that some people could take a leaf out of his book in that regard. He invested in several businesses outside of the UFC, and he made it so that his residual income has nothing to do with him ever fighting again. And I think that a lot of fighters could benefit and understand that you can wield this thing to do a lot for you. You don't have to act like an ass and, be completely like, outrageous and, do a bunch of ridiculous things. But, the business side of it, yeah, he had the right idea with that. So, but yeah, no one's like above the law in a sense. He kind of got carried away in a lot of ways, but yeah, I mean, the dude set his family up for life, and he did do that part right. So, and hopefully some of these guys get that too, just because, I've said this before, you can die in there, you can die in that cage.
Sure.
You're sacrificing your body, even in training, you're breaking your body down. So you should get a return from this. You should have a way to make it lucrative. You should have a way to make money. So I think that it's a shame if fighters don't understand that and they don't get the benefits from that. So hopefully that part of the sport will continue to grow too, not just the talent level and not just the exposure, but hopefully fighters will find ways to get proper management, proper coaching, proper guidance, and find their way to get what they deserve. Every fighter shouldn't be doing this and be broke off of this. They should have ways to pay for it at the very least, if not make money off of it. And that's probably the thing that I want to change. When I'm not fighting, or even while I am, I've said this to a lot of people, I plan on helping other fighters find the same success that I've had. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. Like I said, I'm a talker, but there's little tricks. there's a system that I think I can develop to allow fighters to find that same level of success, so that they're not breaking their bodies for chump change either, or nothing for amateurs. We don't get paid to fight. So you got to find other ways to make money. So that's something that I'm kind of using my own career like a guinea pig to find out what works and what doesn't, so I can pass this on to other people and help my teammates, get a little money in their pockets, so it's not so tough on them too. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's huge. Not a lot. I mean, part of this wave, yeah, that's a huge part of it, is making sure that the sport stays in a good spot.
Yeah.
That is like you said, it's all about your brand, and you'll always be known as a fighter who backs it up in the cage and backs it up in every aspect of your life. That's
and that's what I want.
Yeah, and I mean, you're walking that path already, definitely. You've built you're building something, and it's beyond the cage. The great part is you still got plenty of time to go. So you got all kinds of really cool things that you're going to accomplish and be able to do and see and experience, and you'll get to share that and then pass that stuff on. And
Yeah.
that's huge. But that's a big part of why the appeal, I think, is growing so rapidly, and why it's going to continue growing, because I talked to Julia Villa a couple months ago, and she talked about how, like, when the females fight, they're all, most of you are all friends. It is a lot different. There's not as many, I guess, but she's like, we do our thing, and it's back to life. You know what I mean? Afterwards, whereas a lot of these, especially in the UFC, a lot of these men's fights, it's like, somebody will beat somebody, and of course there's months of just trash talk and garbage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they still have it, and it's like, okay, come on, it's over.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the wave it's coming hard and fast, and I love it, and I know fans love it and they appreciate it. But yeah, I don't want to keep you too much longer here. I know you just got done practicing and everything, but your fight, you're a month away. That's really cool that it's falling in this, like you said, this calendar year. I think that's really kind of poetic, really.
I know, it's like epic.
Timing.
Like, I love it. Yeah, and I didn't realize it until like a couple weeks ago, like well after I took the fight, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like it's like literally in the calendar year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that for some of the girls, we end up as friends and stuff, because like, I still communicate with Addie, the girl that fought last, pretty frequently. I still follow Ashley's journey, which is the girl I debuted against, and like they're from the same gym, so it's kind of in that little network. But yeah, I mean, granted, some girls are gonna have that time where they'll talk trash too, and they
Right.
won't get along, they'll hate each other. But yeah, I do think it's less likely. Like, I mean, I think even me and Taylor, we haven't interacted personally, but like, I think anytime I've really spoken about her, she's spoken about me. It's like all respect. It's very much about the sport. It's like, it's kind of like we appreciate each other for what we bring to the table and everything. So, and I don't know if it's just maybe the girls, like, I hate to throw this card out there, but I don't know if it's maybe the girls being a little bit more mature. I don't know, but like,
No, it is.
yeah, I think there is a part of it about that, but yeah, I mean, you will have some matchups that just go south, and there ain't no coming back from it because the
Right.
trash talk goes too far. But yeah, I mean, like you said, maybe just with us being less of us, it's just kind of like, and I think it too. It's like when you get in there, I think if you're a serious competitor in women's MMA, I think there's a desire to be like, we belong here. We're here because we're professional. We're not here to mess around. We take this very seriously. So I think a lot of girls hold on to that, and they're not willing to sacrifice that respected outlook just to like kind of talk smack to each other. It's not really worth it. We're really just focused on our fight. We're really just focused on our performance, and we want to put on a good show and hold up the expectation that we're here to bang, we're here to go to war, and there's a lot of people that have said they've had the opinion that a lot of the times the girl fights are better than the guys, for whatever reason, in certain circumstances. And I think that's just because we in a way kind of feel like we have something to prove.
Yeah.
So that might also be why there's that level of respect there for females and things like that. But yeah, I mean, this has been a crazy ride the first year, and like I said, this title fight is like the icing on the cake, and I'm so grateful for every opportunity that's came my way. And I said I was gonna do things that haven't been done, or I said I was gonna kind of make waves and make noise, and I'm proud of what me and my camp and my team and managing working with like my personal team on what we're doing, what we've done so far. But I'm just so excited for what comes even after this. I know this is going to be a great fight. I know this is going to be an awesome experience. I'm looking forward to it. I got a good group of cornermen going out there with me, good vibes, good people. My team, like, that week is going to be so hype. my main coach is fighting on the Wednesday before my fight. He's the main event. One of my other close teammates, he's the co-main event. And then I've got like 4 teammates that are fighting the same night as me in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So it's like fight week for like the whole, like there's just so many of my teammates fighting this month. So it's going to be a nice like buildup of momentum going into that matchup. So it's just it's going to be a lot of memories made, a lot of like really good times, a lot of stuff that we're going to be able to reflect back on and appreciate. So it's a good time to be a fighter. It's a good time to be a fighter at my gym. You know, it's like I made the joke tonight when we were warming up. I'm like, it's like the Oprah Winfrey show. I'm like, you get a fight, you get a fight, you get a fight. So everybody's fighting right now pretty much. But yeah, it's I'm just excited to be a part of this process and be on this journey. And you know, I can't imagine life without training, life without competing at this point, or just being a part of this business. It's been such a blessing to find mixed martial arts, and yeah, I don't think I could ever go back, or you know, if I don't know what, I wouldn't even want life without this at this point in some capacity. Even when hi, hello, I wouldn't want life without this at this point. So I'm just grateful for anything and everything that comes my way. So yeah, it's gonna be fun for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me,
yeah,
as
no,
always. Yeah.
it's always fun, and I'm glad you're a talker. It makes this really easy for me.
I try to, you know, try to do my part, you know. So.
Oh, you definitely do. I mean, this is good. This is good for me. I love it because you know, you and Taylor are great examples of WMMA and MMA in general, and that's why it's going to be great. Like you said, it's not going to be an early night for anybody. This will be a grinder for sure.
Yes.
It'll be a great one, and you know, it's well earned, and I think it's just going to open quality doors for you. You know,
yeah,
and it'll be easier at this point to see the quality through the. Because I think a lot, your door is going to get started to get knocked down for, hey, fight this person, fight that person. And it's going to be easier for you to see those good matchups now, I think.
That's so cool.
Yeah, get those good, you know, those good fight contracts and keep pushing through and see where you end up. But yeah, good luck. I mean, I know you're going to kill it. I mean, there's no doubt. And it's you and Taylor both. I mean, you guys are going to do great. And I mean, you're a month away, so. I'm looking for it. I know you're excited. I can tell. Just fine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm itching. I can't wait. I'm counting down the days, like the hours, literally. So.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Enjoy the moment, and you know, it's well earned for sure. So, good luck, and we'll talk again real soon.
All right. I'm gonna do a quick shout out to sponsors and all that stuff
also,
really quick.
Tell you, sorry to cut you off, but I will let you know when this is on YouTube.
Oh, that's perfect. That's
so I didn't forget.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, that's awesome. Okay, so Detroit MMA TV, Never Tap Canada, Bad Chicks MMA, Shakers Bar and Grill, Iron Jaw, Custom Mouth Guards, MMA Roadhog, Just Be You 360, Dauntless Perspective Photography, Color Pins and Curls, Beyond the Chair Tattoo, Dank Innovations, Fighter Alias. I think I always worry about I'm gonna forget somebody, but I think that's everybody at least for now, I think. But yeah, I appreciate all the support, you know, from everybody. And you know, I've said before, I know it's not common for amateurs to have as much sponsorships as I do. So it's just, you know, to be able to have a lot of them really from the beginning, or even the new ones I've acquired, has been a blessing. So I can't thank them enough. And thank you to my team, Michigan Top Team. I love you guys. And thank you, Kyle, as always. I can't wait to do this again, and it'll be a good conversation. You know, get that belt, bring it back home, and then we can chat about the whole experience. Yeah. So it'll be fun. So
well, it's awesome too. You know, you're talking about. I mean, it just kind of is a testament to who you are as a person. You know, definitely. But hey, I got a quick favor to ask you, if you wouldn't mind. Would you care while I do the outro to hang with me for just a second?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do the. Yeah, it's live. Okay, so I'm gonna do the exit real quick, and then yeah, we got. It'll just be a minute. So,
yeah, for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That was Andrea Howland, the Renegade, and we are done for tonight. We'll be back. I have Dirty Des Yanez coming up in the next couple days, so that'll be a good time. I think she fights the same night as you do, actually.
Nice.
So that'll be pretty cool. So we got her coming up in awesome WMA this weekend. LFA, Haley Cowan's throwing down. Angela Lee and Zhang Jingnan with one are going at it. And she's got quite a few. You got Michelle Watterson and Carolina are banging, which that's going to be a just killer. So tons of great fights this weekend, so don't miss them. And yeah, that is it. Everybody have a good night, and thanks for listening.